One quick message before we start today's show. I want to tell you guys about a great libertarian blog called The Liberty Theorist. The Liberty Theorist is where our friend Brad Tracy discusses all of the shady things government has been up to and why libertarianism is the only viable way to keep power out of the hands of government. Brad is a Rothbardian libertarian who believes that the U.S. is desperately in need of prison reform. I'll give you a hell yeah to that. I agree there. That victimless crime should be abolished. Yes, agree with that. And that we need to end the welfare, warfare, and spy state. Yep, follow along with you there. And that true free market capitalism is the only way to go. Well, socialism kills human production. Can't argue with that. Bottom line, the government should stay the hell out of your life. You can find The Liberty Theorist by going to medium.com/@, that's the @ Liberty Theorist. You can also find it on Facebook, facebook.com/The Liberty Theorist. Check it out today.
Welcome to Felony Friday, a presentation of the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, John Odermatt.
Felons, friends, and freedom lovers, welcome back to another edition of Felony Friday, a weekly show right here on the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here at Lions of Liberty, we have a bit of a variety channel. My Friday show, Felony Friday, is one of the great shows, but there's two more on Monday and Wednesday. Monday's show hosted by Mark Clare, Wednesday by Brian McWilliams. They both bring their own flavor and flair to the podcasting game. Check those out. Subscribe to Lions of Liberty on your podcasting app to get all three. And today's episode of Felony Friday is another great one. I have an awesome guest lined up who is going to share another story of injustice in the criminal justice system. And we're going to shine a light, and we are going to keep the momentum going. Keep the momentum going for change in the criminal justice system. So share this show, tell a friend, text it to a friend, tell a stranger on the street. I don't care. Enjoy today's show. My guest today on Felony Friday is Jennifer Holloway. Jennifer took a plea and was sentenced to 13 years in prison for conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. She has some unique stories and some disturbing stories from her time in prison that we'll get to, including when a tornado hit one of the prisons she was in, and the guards left the prisoners high and dry and just ran off and left them to fend for themselves. So we'll get into that story. Jennifer, welcome to Felony Friday.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, well, but they won't hear this. Well, they might hear it in the evening, but this will air, next
morning,
week. So it'll
good morning, afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever. It could be. They could listen on a Friday, they could listen on a Saturday or a Sunday, whenever they want to listen.
Okay.
But so Lynn Espejo connected us, and you guys did time together. I'm not sure in which prison, but
at PC Bryan.
Okay. And she connected us and said that you were a person to talk to who could give us some insight really on how bad things were on the inside. And I want to talk about that and get to your stories. Before we do that, I'd like my guests to kind of set the table to give my audience an idea of, your story really. And I think the best place to start with that is really before you went to prison, giving some background on, like where you grew up and what things were like for you before that time.
Okay, I am a foreigner. Actually, I was born in Scotland. I came to the United States in 1979. My father was a military man. My mother passed away as a young child. I was 7 years old. I came to America. He remarried to a woman that had two other children. Needless to say, my childhood wasn't wonderful. It was very abusive, from mental to physical to sexual to you name it. Okay. I was a troubled teenager. I was raped and assaulted by my father at the age of 15. I got put in foster care. I was just a belligerent teenager at the time. I got pregnant when I was 17. I had my firstborn when I was 18. Been a single mother ever since. Decided to move to Texas from South Carolina, excuse me. Let's see. I have struggled as a single mom for a while. Mm-hmm. Then, job to job, from here to there. I didn't graduate high school. But then I kind of, I'm going to jump a little ahead. In my 20s, I had met someone I had used. Very first time I ever used drugs, I was about almost 30.
Wow.
Because it was instilled in me by my father. Something good. You ever try it, it'll kill you. So I was always scared that I was going to die.
Just any kind of drug. It was
anything, whether it was smoking weed to anything. I didn't even drink alcohol because I was scared of something was going to happen to me. And as I got older, I had, curiosity killed the cat. Nosiness will get you. And that's what happened is later on in 2006, I was, 35 maybe. And a friend of mine, was a friend of mine. If you would say she was a friend, she would have never introduced me to methamphetamines. But she told me, Jen, you don't have to struggle anymore with paycheck to paycheck to take care of these kids. I'll show you how to do it. And I was like, whatever. Anyway, needless to say, she showed me. I took it upon myself to make that money. Yes, I worked.
What was what were you doing at the time for employment?
I've been in sales, working in call centers since 2001. Mm-hmm. I'm a talker, as you can tell.
Yeah. That's
good. And so I started selling meth then and just trying to make it. Not that it's an excuse, but I did it. I'm guilty. Hey. One thing I'm not going to sit here and say is that I'm innocent by any means. Mm-hmm. I did sell drugs. Did I kill anyone? Not to my knowledge. No.
Plus, it was consensual. You weren't forcing people to buy.
They weren't minors. I had some kind of conscience. They weren't pregnant. They weren't children. Mm-hmm. The group that was actually a part of this conspiracy was the Aryan Brotherhood group. And
that's interesting.
It's kind of funny that you look like that because I had nothing to do with them people.
Yeah.
I didn't even know them people. So I was questioned over and over and over again about these certain people. And I don't know them. How am I involved with them? That's where the conspiracy comes in, because it says knowingly and unknowingly participated in selling drugs with firearms and methamphetamines. There was no way of getting out of that because I knew the guy that I got the drugs from.
So the guy that you got the drugs from was connected to this Aryan Brotherhood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Well, so then when he got arrested, here I lay the next day and got arrested too. They got my son and my girlfriend all at the same time. So they got all three of us, my whole family.
Up until that point in time, sorry to interrupt you, but I'll do that from time to time, just to get some more details on it. So up until that point in time, how long had you been selling for? And did you have any fear of getting arrested? I mean, was that something that you dealt with on a daily basis?
Well, me personally, I thought I was untouchable. And I had been doing it for about 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it wasn't reality. It wasn't reality to me. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to work every day. I'm just doing a little all on the side. Personally, I don't think that I was doing that much, but they made it seem like I was some big kingpin in the end. But I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, that I don't feel that I was a large partaker. But if you asked the streets, then they would tell you differently.
Well, what it comes down to in trials like this, right, is how much other people say that was being bought. It doesn't. I mean, they don't need to actually prove it in any way other than just coming out of someone's mouth. Well,
they did get a phone call. That's what they got me on. There was one phone call that said, the phone call stated, I need 3, I have 55. That's the only words I said. But come on, I mean, reality, they're not dumb. They were watching this guy. They knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, this white girl comes over to get some stuff from them. It's you put 2 and 2 together. They're not dumb. But is that me?
I think so.
It is. I'm going to have to not answer. I don't know how to work this phone. Oh, that's my son. He got 15 years and he's home too. That's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm. Did he get out before or after you did?
He got out after me. I got out May 15th. He got out July 16th.
Okay.
And he got 15. He took him to trial. That's a story for him to tell you. Hopefully I can introduce you to him. And
yeah, happy to talk with him.
He can tell you his stories are not as, my stories aren't as vivid as his. It's a male version, which is totally different than us girls.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where were we?
Yeah, so take us through. You get arrested. Did you get out on bail, or what happened from there?
Okay, so I got out on pretrial. Mind you, I was on pretrial. Didn't even know it wasn't real to me. This was like. I'd never been in a courtroom in my life. So stepping into this courtroom, it was like Law and Order, something on TV. It wasn't real to me. And I was very sick, John, when I went to prison, very sick. I was very overweight, way more than I am now. My COPD and my asthma was bad. Why? Because I was smoking cigarettes and I was doing drugs. Mm-hmm. So they let me out on pretrial. They separated us. They kept my son in prison. They separated my wife and put her in Houston down in the Bay Area in a rehab center and left me out to run the streets. The federal agents would come by and ask, just harass and ask me, what I'm doing and just meddling. And they had set me up to do a drug deal a week before sentencing, which is crazy. I had a 5-bedroom.
The feds were setting you up to do a drug deal was it for you to try to get a sentence reduction or?
No, to give me more. They told me I was going to spend the rest of my natural born life in prison. So to make a long story short with this one is they set me up to do a drug deal. There was never any drugs. It was bogus. I was stealing. These people that I was supposedly getting the drugs for was an old contact of mine. Mm-hmm. And I had a 5-bedroom house that I had put in storage when we got arrested. And it was behind on the storage rent. And so I stole that $2,000 to pay for my storage rent, which I was scared to death because I had never stolen anything in my life. I felt really bad.
You stole the money from who?
From the customer. That were friends of mine. What used to be my customers.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I steal their money. Tuesday, I go to a counseling session because I have to go to an outpatient counseling session while I'm on pretrial. And they arrest me for violation. This was January 17th. This was before I ever went to court. So they arrested me and I was like, for what? And they were like, you know what you did? And I was like, I haven't done anything. So I was thinking it's because Mike visited me and we weren't supposed to be around each other. Because surely then people didn't go tell the police that I stole their money on a drug deal, right? You don't think like that. Mm-hmm. Well, they arrested me and told me that his name is Jim Ellis. I'll never forget it. I said, Jim, what did you arrest me for? And he's like, you know what I arrested you for? And I said, sir, no, I don't. And he said, you stole our money. Yes, everyone laughs. It's okay, John. And I said, I did not steal anyone's money. They gave that to me. So in going to court on January 23rd, 2012, the judge said, you embarrassed my court. You were at the wrong place at the wrong time, Ms. Holloway. And I really honestly don't remember much of the sentencing day because once again, it was not, I don't think I was in the right state of mind. It wasn't real to me. Mm-hmm. But my family says that I was really rude and belligerent and ugly to the judge. So
you can imagine the amount of stress that you're under at that point in time.
And never being in handcuffs. I'd never been in jail. Never, so it was a life-changing experience, I will say. Will I say I had the best time in there? No. Will I say that I learned about myself in there? Yes. Mm-hmm. Have I healed? Absolutely. Were there terrifying times? Tornado Alley, Aliceville? Yes, sir.
So let's talk about that. Let's go to that first.
Okay.
What happened? And so when the tornadoes hit, at what point in time was this during your time in prison?
This was February 2nd, 2016. And I had already been down for 4 and a half years. Well, it's a normal Tuesday. I think it was a Tuesday because it was commissary day. And we're leaving, I don't know if you know about Aliceville, but it's a massive medium security prison was built for men. Okay. They lock you in cell doors. There is no dorm or open bay. It's cell doors, 2 bunks. You got a toilet and a sink. It's just like county jail, but it's a prison. Mm-hmm. You got a little bean chute you can open up and see out. Well, 3:30 rolls in. We all got to go in for lockdown. Bye-bye. Say bye to everybody. About count time's 4:00. So they count us. And my bunkie has this, we have the radio going. And she was like, girl, tornado's fixing to come. And I said, what? I've never seen a tornado in my life except on TV. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a hurricane because I'm from the East Coast, but never have I seen a tornado. And so I was like, you're so full of it. She's like, yeah, for real, girl. I'm telling you, a tornado's coming. So I look out the window, which is, I don't know, it's pretty big, but it's got the big bars in the middle. So I look out the window and all of a sudden the whole sky turns black. And she said, before she could finish saying the word window, she said, get away from the wind, and bam, the window shattered in my face.
Wow.
Okay. Now, when I say shattered, it was more like, how a windshield on a vehicle with that tempered glass, it just spiders. Mm-hmm. That's how it was. Glass came out, but it didn't get in my skin or anything.
Did something hit it? Something hit the window, or?
No, I think it was, I remember the toilet going and the air changing in the room. Mm. Because the way the building was built is like this. And this is the front of the compound. And this is a building, one building here and one building here. And so when it came through, it came like this towards us. I wish I could draw you a picture. And now there's another unit on top of me. So I was in B1 and these girls were in B3, which it took the entire roof off.
Wow.
Praise the Lord that nobody got killed.
Wow.
Because there was wires hanging, water was dripping, no air. There was no air because the whole ventilation system had been it tore up the whole compound. Well, needless to say, I think we were locked down for February, 45 days, 40, 30, almost 45 days. They didn't let us out for almost 2 weeks with no shower, no email, no nothing.
Wow.
No phone calls. I barely remember a lot right after it happened because I have seizures. And as soon as that thing hit, the fire alarm's going off and I had a seizure. So my bunkie helped me. I do know that those women upstairs, they left them upstairs standing in 2 feet of water. No air.
So they had no roof and they just left them up there.
Well, they had a roof, but I don't know how to explain it. It took the whole, they left them up there.
It just leaked. I mean, I'm sure.
And it was very dangerous. One of my softball friends actually called a news station, and the warden took her into a closet because the whole front of the prison was gone. So there wasn't even a warden's office. And she took her in the office into the closet and told her who the hell gave her permission to call a radio station. And it was only like 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And the girl told her, well, you did, y'all approved the number. But the food was rotten. The milk was spoiled. They would give us bread. It had green mold. And I know that in trying times, desperate extremes requires desperate measures, but we're not animals. At the end of the day, we made our mistake. Yes, we're going to do some time. You know, Aliceville is different than where other places I've been, because Aliceville, there are killers there. There are baby killers. There's murderers there. There's bad people at the FCIs in the women's facility. You know, there's no classification with us. You know, you're either at a camp at a low drug crime or a white collar crime, or you're at the FCI because you're a bad girl. I think Aliceville was the worst experience I've ever had.
So what happened after the 45 days? Did they transfer everyone somewhere else, or what did they do?
So immediately, 500 girls were shipped out at midnight. I think it might have been 2 weeks later, because they started packing everybody up. And we were like, where the hell's everybody going? And so they shipped 500 girls out. That's when they started moving the girls from B3 down to B2 and down to B1 and over to B2. Because C unit was hit too. Not as bad as B unit. So you had this is B unit in the middle, and C unit was like catty-cornered like this. But there was no fence anymore. There was no wire fence, barbed wire fence. Mm-hmm. So we all had to stay inside, locked in ourselves. Then they started letting us an hour a day. You got to either shower, phone, or email, or use the microwave and get hot water. Now, there wasn't as many women in the unit in the beginning. I think there was 54 to 74 in the unit in the beginning. But once you brought all the girls down and moved them over from the other units, it became hectic. And then they started refusing us stuff. So the girls started throwing food and started a whole riot. It was crazy. It was crazy. Was I scared for my life then? Yes.
Were there fights or?
Well, we were locked in.
Yeah.
So, but prior to the tornado, they fought all the time. And the officers would just watch them. But I've seen them sling some people around. I've seen them talk to us like we're dogs. I had a couple officers. I had one guy, he was real ugly to me. And I told him, listen, man, you know, I'm a big woman, John. So people say I'm intimidating. I really don't mean to be. Mm-hmm. I'm really this big inside. But don't be ugly to me if I'm not ugly to you. If I don't deserve it, then I'm going to come back at you. And I told this officer one time, I'm not your daughter. I'm not your wife. first of all, I'm a woman and I'm a mother. You're not going to talk to me that way. And
what type of stuff was he saying? Can you repeat it? Or
he was rude and told me to shut the F up.
Yeah.
And all I was trying to do was leave the actual room that I was in. You know, they lock everything in the FCIs, but I was done with my appointment in medical. And I was trying to go out the door with him, and he was ugly and cussing. And I told him, you're not going to talk to me like that. Needless to say, I went to the warden and she handled it. But I've seen men walked off from sexual activity with women. They've brought in contraband. It's bottom line
when you say they've brought in contraband, who do you
officers?
Mean by, yeah,
officers.
What type of contraband?
Contraband, cigarettes, perfume, alcohol, little miniature alcohol bottles. And I only know this because I've seen it with my own eyes. I'm not going to say, well, I think that this is what's been done. I've seen it with my own eyes. Have I ever seen officers walked off on the compound? Yes. Have I known about officers sleeping with inmates? Yes. Have I seen them sleep? Well, of course not. Mm-hmm. But yes, same when I was in Marianna, Florida. Corruption is all throughout the prison system, but it should be about rehabilitation and getting people better. Not about making it worse. I mean, right. You're supposed to be helping us to get better. And some of us come out good and some of us come out doing the same thing all over again.
Hey, everybody, taking a quick break here from the show. Wanted to remind you all to check out my man Tyler Colford, a.k.a. Crypto Man, and his new song, Free Ross. If you didn't hear my recent interview with Lynn Ulbricht, that was Felony Friday, episode 230. Interviewed Lynn Ulbricht, played Tyler's song, Free Ross. It's fantastic, phenomenal. Not just for the message of freeing Ross Ulbricht, but overall for changing the broken criminal justice system. All the proceeds from the Free Ross song, #Free Ross by Crypto Man. You can find it on Spotify and Amazon Music. 100% of the proceeds from the song, #Free Ross by Crypto Man, go towards freeing Ross Ulbricht. So please check it out.
These are perilous times when they ruin your lives over victimless crimes, and they sever your ties from your business, loved ones, and family. Why? New slave labor, they barely pay you. Don't care about work ethic or major.
I mean, there's people out there who would hear some of these stories and they would say, well, you shouldn't have sold drugs, or you shouldn't have committed a crime, or you shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that. You're paying the price for it. Prison's not supposed to be, a vacation. I'll say that, but I mean, what they're not thinking about is most people who are in that prison are going to be coming out, and they're going to be in society. They're going to be your neighbors. They're going to be in your communities. They're going to be interacting with you. They're going to be, adding value to society. And why would you not want people who are in prison to get reformed, to have some opportunities to grow, to change? So I mean that whole I'm so sick of hearing that argument from people.
I think that, first of all, the ones that are throwing those great, lovely stones are, they sold drugs, they shouldn't have done that, they shouldn't have done this, need to look in the mirror. And because I, myself, would have been one of those people and been like, well, she should have been selling drugs. That's what she gets. She should have been thinking about her children. She should think about repercussions. Well, okay, let's change the role a little bit. Well, my husband was beating my ass. Not me literally. This is hypothetically. I've never been married to a man. My husband was beating my ass, and the only reason I stayed with him is because, oh God, he said he was going to kill my children, or I didn't have nowhere to go. So does that make her any better than I, because she stayed with a man that beat the hell out of her and then wound up, that child grows up in that environment of abuse. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the abuse that I got led me to what I did. Okay. But as psychiatrist, my opinion is no, I was grown. I made my own decisions to give my kids something better. At the time, I thought it was going to be better. But I look at my 24-year-old now, and when I left him, he was 15, and he's angry and he's bitter. And he reminds me every day, Mom, I'm a grown man. And that hurts me because he suffered so much while I was gone. But yes, was I thinking about all those things that are going to happen if I did this, if I did that? Well, no. Just like a woman that her husband cheats on her, goes out and she finds some guy she can pay him. I'm going to give you $10,000, $5,000. I need you to kill this son of a bitch. No, she doesn't think that she can get 35 years in prison for murder for hire.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all these people, well, I'm sure that they've never stolen anything. I was raised in a Christian home. Come on. It's not about, oh, well, they could have not done this or they should have, could have, would have. We all fall short. We all make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And if whoever can stand up and say, I've never done anything wrong, I'm better than you, well, you're going to hell because you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, I just wish that they would open their eyes and see that, first of all, addiction, oh, it's so sad. I've seen them, John, still get high in prison. It's real sad. And it's... How
have you heard or seen people get access to drugs in prison?
It comes through the mail, John. Everything comes in the mail.
They just don't, because you hear that they check the mail, but they let it through.
Let me show you how they do the mail. Let me see if I can find an envelope or something. So they get the mail. This is a letter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But matter of fact, you see this? That's funny. I pulled this out. This is a picture of me prior to using drugs.
Okay.
I just got these yesterday. And this is a picture of me the day I got arrested. That's a big difference. So life can change that quick.
Yeah.
But back to the drugs, this paper could be made of liquid meth.
I got you. Yeah.
And so they could cut this paper and eat it, smoke it.
Yeah.
The talent is, and it's really talent. It's really sad that you would say it like that, Jennifer, but they're so smart.
Well, it is talent. And the reason that talent is applied there, it's misallocated really to the, black market drug activity, is because of the prohibition on drugs. So you create this shady market that attracts, risky individuals who are looking to profit. If you had, decriminalized drugs, legal drugs controlled by a market where, I think people would be less likely to use meth or heroin. I mean, more people might be using marijuana. I'm sure they would if it was legal, but
if it's no fun if it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the drive. That is what it was for me. For me, it was about the drive. Man, it ain't nothing to pay your bills and give your kids a good Christmas, or go out there and say, you want this, baby? Or opposed to saying, I can't buy that for you, baby, because mama's got to pay the light bill or pay the car payment. Now I look back and I'm like, damn, they didn't even need nothing. They had me. They had lights, water, and gas, and a roof over their head. But in the moment, we don't think. Who thinks about repercussions after you speed down the freeway and you accidentally hit somebody? Or who thinks no, we don't think. We're human.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think like that. I don't know anybody in the world that I've ever met, whether it's on the inside or the outside, whether it's a counselor or an officer or my boss, that can stand up and say, Yeah, I didn't think that was going to happen to me. You know, just last week, John, on the 10th of November, a young lady I was incarcerated with died. On October 31st, she said her feet were hurting.
Mm-hmm.
She thought it was from standing on her feet for 16 hours at her job. Come to find out, she had AML, acute myeloid leukemia.
Oh my God.
And was dead in 10 days. And at the prison, John, she worked out, was healthy.
Wow.
Just came home last year, got married, and now she's gone.
Oh my God. Wow.
Does she deserve to die because she was a drug dealer?
No, absolutely not.
No. She made her mistake. She made a mistake. And I will tell you this, what I have learned in there is, oh my God, there's so many young people. And when I say young, I'm 48 years old. I've been in there since I was 39.
Mm-hmm.
There's kids in there that are 18, 19, 20, 21 in their 20s. And they get 10, 15, 16, 20, 30 years. Some of them, my bunkie, she was 19. She got a 16-year bid, John, and all she did was drive a car. When I say all she did was drive, yes, the car had drugs in it.
Mm-hmm.
Was she driving it from one point to A and B? Yes. Did she know there was drugs in the car? Yes. But damn, 16 years?
It's
That's
crazy.
their whole childhood. I think that I think it's broken. Our justice system is broken.
It's very broken.
Personally, now I don't think that I think counseling is very important, but at the end of the day, counselors need to be counseled. They need to listen. It's not all about the money that you're getting paid just to counsel somebody. Some of us, and I say us because I am one of them, need to hear that it wasn't your fault. Need to hear that you matter and that you're not gross or dirty or you asked for it. And as a woman, we're very emotional, you know, and we take everything to heart. And so whether it's our father or our mothers or boyfriends or girlfriends or husbands are beating us down, and then we go do something dumb, we know it's dumb, but who cares? I don't have anything to live for anyway. So just go out and do something radical, and then bam, you're locked up. And then you look around in the penitentiary and it's like, damn, golly, all I did was sell drugs. That lady right there killed her baby while she was on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Or she had someone kill her husband because he was cheating on her. And so she was emotionally broke. I mean, I could tell you 45 minutes is not enough because I can talk, but
keep on going.
Excuse me. There's so many stories that are going on in there. And I took counseling in there, trauma classes. They're wonderful. So whoever is listening, they work. We've got to, the counseling that is happening in there, those classes, they're very important and they're very confidential. And so if another inmate breaks that confidence and goes and tells another inmate someone's personal business, has it happened? Yes. As women, we're natural born gossipers. But we're also very jealous animals, mammals, whatever you want to call us.
So are men. I don't think there's much of a difference there.
Y'all would be ready to fight though. These women just spitbox and they throw their mouths, and I think that there needs to be more classes in healing. I went to a trauma class. I went to a boundary class. I went to a truth be told class that taught me to speak how I feel on what has happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say on this day that prison saved my life. Whether I was in there for, I think after the 5th year, I think it took me 5 years in there to realize, Jen, just sit down. This is not your life. This is not what you want. You need to do and be better for you.
It's interesting you say that. And I think, I've interviewed a lot of people who have been to prison. And I would say that, the majority have probably said something similar to that's what they needed. And this has come from people that maybe they've been to prison before that 3 or 4 or 5 times, but then eventually it kind of sets in. But I think it has to be just the right time and the right place to make that change in your life. I don't know if that needs to happen in a prison environment. I mean, we were just talking about, I'm sure you would agree, it doesn't need to happen in the type of prison environment that we have today, where there's, it's rampant with abuse and all these different things.
Yes.
and people aren't reformed. But there has to be a better way to help people to get, the treatment that they need, to get the, emotional help that they need. I don't know if that needs to happen in prison. I'd like to think that it doesn't. I personally don't think anybody should be, locked in a cage for selling drugs or selling a plant or selling whatever, if it's consensual and if there's no victim. I don't see any reason to lock anyone up in a cage.
I mean, drugs are illegal, period.
They are.
It's
I know.
Against the law. Do I think that we should go to prison for selling drugs? No. Do I think we need to be sat down and reprimanded? You broke the law. You know that you're not supposed to do that. First of all, it's against the law. Don't do it. It's easier said than done. Our whole country, since I've been home since May 15th, and the things that I've seen, what has happened in the last 10 years?
Yeah, well, speaking of breaking the law, though, there's a lot of laws right now in many states where you can't even go outside unless you're wearing a mask, or some places you can't even be outside your house if it's past 10 p.m. You're breaking the law. So not every law is just because it's a law.
Yeah.
Not to get into debate on that, but.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We were just talking about that at work. Jen, put your mask on. I'm like, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Now at the camps, when I was at the camps, I was at 3 different camps. I will say Carswell, they saved my life. It's a medical facility. And they saved my life right out in the parking lot. I was blue and non-responsive.
Wow.
And that was 4 months after I got incarcerated.
Wow.
And this is where I say, I thank the Father every day. And you know that saying you hear, oh, you found Jesus in prison. You found Jesus in jail. Well, I have a theory on that. And this is my theory.
Mm-hmm.
As his children, whatever religion you believe in, we all have had children. And when your children are bad, what do? You put them where? In timeout. And if they keep being bad, then you put them back in timeout. So I feel like God kept telling me, Jennifer, you're not minding. You're just not minding, baby. So I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to sit you somewhere. You have no choice but to mind. So I felt like God placed me in prison, allowed it to happen because it was destined to sit my tail down. And then realized that my life should have been focused on him from the get-go and not scrambling around with drugs and women and trying to be worldly and think that I could just be me and run the roost. Am I a Bible thumper? No, I'm not. I'm not by all means perfect. Mm-hmm. Needless to say, I have a record.
Nobody's perfect.
Right. And religion is a very hard thing to discuss with people, but I believe wholeheartedly that day that I died in April of 2012, When I asked him, just give me one more chance, just one more chance. And he said, okay. And every day forward, I believe that a voice is all we need in the world. Is if one voice is heard, then that one voice can travel to many other ears.
Mm-hmm.
And those ears have a voice too, and they're going to talk. So if we get enough voices and ears and combine them, something will change. People have been telling me for years, Jennifer, you can't change the world. I can't change the world. But if my voice can help one person,
mm-hmm.
I've done my job.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, honestly, that right there, what you just explained is the whole reason why I started this show, to give people like yourself a voice. Because, you know, for far too long, and the atmosphere around criminal justice system, criminal justice reform has changed, especially in the past few years here. But for so long, I mean, people who went to prison, nobody wanted to hear from them. Nobody wanted to hear their story. Nobody wanted, you know, you were kind of just marked from society and don't open your mouth, you know, just get in line.
Yeah.
If you don't hear from those people, if you don't hear from individuals who've been through that, be it through injustice or be it through just experiencing how awful the prison system is, you're never going to change the system. I haven't been to prison. For me to learn about it and learn what needs to be changed, the only thing I can do is talk to people who have and give you a voice, elevate it, give you that platform, and put it out there. Just like you said, who's going to hear it? Well, thousands will on this show, and you know they can tell other people. They can share the show with more people.
Yeah,
so it's in today's environment. It is possible to make a massive change.
Yes, it is, and there are people still left behind that that need assistance. They need that counseling. They need those ears to listen. I mean, right now, COVID's going on so bad that our prison system, people, oh God, we were just talking about that. It's so sad because they're confining them to these small areas and not giving them the toiletries or the necessities that they need.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hot water for that matter. The girls in Bryan, I just heard, aren't even getting hot showers in their quarantine area. They're getting cold water. A makeshift. They just made a shower in an old bathroom, and I know what them bathrooms look like, and it's not sanitary. But you're just an inmate. You're just a number. Drink some water and walk the track and take some ibuprofen. I've seen people die when they told them that.
Yeah.
Oh, this woman was so sick, John. She couldn't breathe. And they told her, take some ibuprofen. You'll be fine. She was dead the next day.
Oh,
She
God.
had walking pneumonia. She was fixing to go home in I think 40 days, something like that. And a month and a half, she was going home to her family. It's just,
See, that's a crime. That's a crime.
but they don't,
opinion.
they cover, it is negligence, but it's the BOP. You can't sue the government. The government can't sue the government.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then they'll have the government investigate the government. Yeah, so that's another thing there. It's like the police investigating the police.
Yeah. It's really sad. It's sad. And I will say that, am I thankful I'm home? Woo, thank you. Yes. Am I thankful my son's home? Yes. There's so much going on, and there's so many girls that could tell so many stories, like Miss Marie Alice Johnson. I was in Aliceville with her.
Oh, that's right. I did want to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yes. That woman could get on the pulpit in the church and not be a dry eye before you leave.
Yeah.
Tiny's Hall, she just left Bryan. I was with her in Bryan. I was with her in Aliceville. That kid got 35 years. Okay, I know that we broke the law, but as a judge, you have the power to take someone's whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even give us the life, but you have the power to take it. Those young kids and those people growing up behind bars, they're not learning anything. They're not learning how to live life. They're not learning to be social. What is the word? To know how to socialize with other people.
Right.
You know, my son went in when he was 20. He's 30 years old now. He tells me all the time, I'm scared to get in trouble, Mom. I don't want to get in no trouble. He's still living in fear because we're on this monitor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not that he's doing anything wrong, but that fear is still there because he doesn't want to go back to prison. And he's a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. A Black man in nowadays society is worse than it was back in the day. They're just shooting people. And it breaks my heart that it's come to that. But that's a whole nother story too. But the prison system is faulted. The justice system is broken. Counseling, the camps, John, are a waste of federal people's taxes pay for that. It's the camps. I'm not gonna lie to you. We would go to work and chill like regular life, but it's a small little city, small little town. They call me Pops in prison.
Why is that?
Because because I'm gay. And I was everybody's, I always gave that good motherly advice.
Mm-hmm.
Then we bond families. A friend of mine told me this in Carswell one time. She said, they tore us away from our families only to build a new family in prison, then only to tear us away from that one to go home and rebuild the one they tore us from in the beginning.
Yeah.
So we got grandmas and peepaws and cousins and sisters and uncles in there. And we make it all up as women because we're nurturers and we need that nurture. And so we're all in there and made our own little families. And people cry and people fight and people get jealous. And it's just like it's just a whole new city. And when you're in there for so long, a mind is a terrible thing. It's a playful thing, rather, you know. Then when you get put in solitary, I was in the SHU. It's called a segregated housing unit for 3 months. And because my girlfriend in there's mom put money on my books and they couldn't prove it. So they removed me from the compound and put me in the SHU.
They put you in the SHU
days.
Because somebody put money on your books?
Yes, they put money on my books. And I even told them, I didn't ask that woman for money. They had no proof.
What did they think? I'm just not understanding why that would be a problem. Because she was an inmate and her mom put money on my books. That's called giving and receiving money from another person. And I told them President Obama can send me money if he wants to. Now, like for instance, now they're stopping mail from coming into Bryan. You can't stop federal. That's a crime. Mm-hmm.
You can't stop these girls from getting mail. But they're doing it. They're doing it.
It's crazy. We could definitely keep going, but unfortunately, I do have to stop here at some point. But we'll have to have you back on. Maybe we'll have you and Lynn back on together at some point here. But I did want to ask you to end on a positive note here, kind of like future looking forward into the next few years. You have your freedom now. What are your plans? Where do you see yourself? What do you think you'll be doing the next 5-10 years?
Well, I've been home 4 or 5 months. I've had a job for 3 months. I got my own little apartment now. Within the next 4 months, I plan on having a car. And I'm going to be a grandma next month.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I think in the next 5 years, hopefully I'll be off paper and be able to be freer, but just live life. I only have one, and this is my second chance at it. So I just want to be a good grandma and a good person. Not that I'm not, but I just want to be happy. That's it. That's free. Good. Freedom is very, very precious.
That is the truth. And, people listening to this, listening to Jennifer's stories, I hope that it makes, everyone listening really give a second. I mean, obviously the Felony Friday audience understands the system is broken, but I would encourage you to share this, share this story, share this episode with someone who might not know that, who might not have that insight, who might be the type of person that would say, they made a mistake, they deserve what they get. So just want to encourage my listeners to share this show. And Jennifer, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, John.
Hope you guys enjoyed that episode of Felony Friday. Another awesome episode. Just want to remind everyone before you get going here, after your next podcast or your shuffle or whatever it is you're doing with your day today, I want to thank you for giving me your time and listening to this interview. I want to ask you, please, to share this with a friend. The only way that we're going to expand this message, that we're going to reform this criminal justice system, is by sharing interviews just like this with your network. Very easy to do. And I also want to ask you to please, if you have not yet checked it out, you need to go to the Lions of Liberty store. It's lionsofliberty.store. We have a bunch of new t-shirt designs, really interesting stuff, really eye-catching designs. Of course, our taxation is death shirt has been a hit. It's selling like crazy. We now have the tax on, wax off shirt. Just awesome. And there's more coming. We're really trying to get into what we're calling it the Lions of Liberty brand of shirts. So you're going to get the cool design on the front, and then up just real small up by the tag on the back, you're going to have our Are You Ready to Roar logo. We're trying to, take another angle here and influence people through, some snazzy t-shirts. So check it out, lionsofliberty.store. And remember, if you're in the Lions of Liberty Pride, you get 20% off. So for as little as $5 a month, you're going to get 20% off all your t-shirt orders. So to join the Pride, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great weekend or week or whenever you're listening to this. Just have an awesome day. I'll talk to you next week. This is John Odermatt signing off. Always remember to keep your head up and the fires of liberty burning.